Okay, first off, yes, I know this is the same style Your Movie Sucks does his reviews in, but it works and it's cool, and imitation is the best flattening of something. Whatever, point is, it's cool. Let me start off by saying that I don't think The Killing Joke is an awful film, and despite the fact that I'm even making this review, I don't hate the movie, nor do I have a particularly strong dislike of it. However, I can't ignore all the blatant, glaring problems it has, so I figured, hey, nobody's ever going to hear my opinion, so why not put it on YouTube, where even more people will not hear it? What I'm getting at is, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. So for starters, I'm going to talk about The Killing Joke, as in the 1988 comic book. Not only do I think it's a great comic and a brilliant breakdown of the Joker's obsessive nihilism, but I also love and respect Alan Moore as a writer. Mostly. All that said, it's not one of my favorite Batman comics, and not even my favorite Alan Moore comic. This is because, while I like how the Joker is presented in terms of his selective memory, I'm a little bored by it. And with just over 48 pages, that's impressive, and not in a good way. I mean, it's not monotonous or anything, but with all the obsession with the Joker lately, I guess I've just become desensitized to his particular brand of disturbed violence and atrocities. This should in no way be seen as a criticism of the book itself, but as a criticism for people putting the Joker on such a fucking pedestal, when a vast majority of the comics and adaptations he's in just use him as a plot device and never really try to get into his mind. Anyway, all this out of the way, let's get into the movie.
First of all, I realize this is probably not how you thought the story would start.
The biggest problem of which becomes immediately apparent and sticks around for literally the first 40 minutes of the 75-minute movie. Now, at the time of this review, the film adaptation of The Killing Joke has been out for a few months, and like anything DC has come out with lately, and will likely come out with in the near future, it has masses of incessant fanboys defending it as hard as they possibly can from behind their computer screens. And while they do have some good points, some of which I plan to address later in this review, I simply don't agree with any that I personally have read. What I'm referring to, of course, is that the first 40 minutes of the movie called and based on The Killing Joke are focused solely on Batgirl, her struggles with balancing college and crime fighting, and her schoolgirl crush on Batman. Let me just get it out of the way that, for the most part, I don't think the first half is objectively all that bad. If this were a movie that was supposed to be focused on Batgirl, I'd even go so far as to say it's pretty good. Again, for the most part.
Paris Franz.
You're kidding.
It even does a pretty good job of making Batgirl/Barbara Gordon a character instead of a plot device/love interest. I don't even really mind the implied totally not worth the R-rating sex scene between Babs and Bruce. It actually works pretty well as a heat-of-the-moment thing, and it's not like Batman and Batgirl have never had a thing before. Even the last season of the animated series touched on relationships between them. Not to mention Barbara outright saying it in an episode of Batman Beyond.
I chose to stay behind with Bruce as his partner. His girlfriend? Whoa.
The point is, there's no reason to get all triggered about it. It works in the context of the first half of the movie. Really, the whole first half is pretty okay, but it clearly belongs to a different movie or story. It has no place in The Killing Joke. Oh, but Chris, Batgirl in Paris is a clear parallel between Batman and the Joker trying to show she can't handle things that he can, fleshing out her character. No. Her character was fine, if a little bland in the original comic. She didn't need a villain with a lame-ass name or a lame-ass emo speech from Batman.
The Abyss. The place where you don't care anymore. Where all hope dies.
Darkness! No parents!
It's pointless in the context of The Killing Joke and should have been a completely different movie altogether if it even had to exist. That's all I'm going to say on the subject. Finally, literally about halfway into the movie, we get into The Killing Joke as it was meant to be seen and as the fans know it from the comic. At first, it looks like it's pretty faithful to the comic, being almost the exact same as the panels are beautifully recreated for the screen, dripping with a gorgeously foreboding atmosphere that seems to warn of awful things to come. It's presented very well and very tastefully and really looks nice together. However, it was about this point that I started to notice a few drawbacks. The first is a nitpick, but I really hate Batman's ears. Yes, I know they look like that for some of the comic, but it was only during Joker's flashbacks, and even then I thought it looked kinda goofy. The second thing is, despite the fact that they're old and this is probably the last time they'll play their respective roles, Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill sound like they couldn't be bothered to give a shit, like they really didn't want to be there. I mean, listen to them in these clips from the animated series.
Batman! You wouldn't let me fry, would you?
And now The Killing Joke.
It's monstrous! Why can't you see the funny side? Why aren't you laughing?
In the animated series.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman.
And now The Killing Joke.
Hello. I want to talk. I've been thinking lately about you. You and me. About how this is going to end. About who will end up killing who.
It might just be me, but I can't honestly say their performances in The Killing Joke are up to par with the animated series, or even the Arkham games when they're involved. Even if this wasn't the case, Hamill's age really starts to seep through whenever you hear him laughing. Especially compared to the animated series, or this amazing laugh from Mask of the Phantasm. You can really hear the difference, and I know I'm not the only one who's noticed this. Other than that, there were only two real problems I had with the film, the first being the animation. Not that it was awful or anything, don't get me wrong, it's pretty faithful, but there are some points where it's noticeably lackluster. I doubt I'd even bring it up if the characters' designs were a little bit closer to the book. The Joker's green head spikes, for example, don't really resemble the Joker's tossed about hairdo of the comic, to name one. And not to mention those fucking ears. Another issue was, of course, the R rating. Sure, the film warrants a PG-13, it has a few swears, a couple of blood splatters, little cleavage, and a disturbing end scene, but it never gets worse than, say, Under the Red Hood. I mean, I'm not trying to say I want to stare at cartoon tatas all day long, but I mean, come on, give us an R rating, quit pussyfooting.
Don't be shy. Show me your boobs.
And finally, we have the ending. While not really awful, and for the most part faithful to the comic, I didn't personally feel it got these sound effects right. Like, for instance, the wail of the police sirens never happened, and in my mind, I guess I always heard the Joker's laugh stop suddenly, then become drowned out by Batman's laugh and the sirens. Again, just a personal thing, but it did kind of bug me. In conclusion, I can't like this movie as a whole. I can appreciate it, giant pus-filled warts and all, but I do not like it. It had some serious final product ruining issues for me, but I can see why some people can look past them. Separated from the comic, it all comes together pretty well, and the animation really isn't a serious issue. The A and B stories tie together pretty well if enough straws are grasped, but I really don't feel like putting the effort into defending something that I don't think warrants defending. Finally, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this review and would like to see more in the future, or would like to peruse my present and future short films, feel free to click the subscribe button right below the viewing screen. Have a nice day.
Darkness!